Um, that's
Today
changed. Yeah, go ahead,
it
Keith.
changed. Well, Zach, you can let it know. We'll let everyone know during the meeting in official records.
Yeah, we were notified today by Barbara Sellers Young that she's resigning from the commission. Yeah, she's moving away. So
Oh,
that changes the math a little bit, but I think we would still need Eduardo to have a quorum today. Is that right?
No, we have a quorum now
Okay.
because 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 304. Majority.
is Krista not able to come today?
Correct. She is traveling and is not able to come. But she submitted a committee report and I'll be delivering that to the group. So we can get started now. Wait, I see Eddie coming in right now. 1 second. Hello, Eduardo.
Hey, good afternoon.
Excellent. We can get started now. We're live.
Okay, great. I'd like to call this meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission to order for Wednesday, November 8th. My name is Zach Cole. I'm the chair of the Salem Public Art Commission. Maybe we'll go around real quick, introduce ourselves. Susan, do you want to introduce?
I'm Commissioner.
Great. Susan, do you want
We're introducing, you know what? I didn't hear that. Sorry. Susan Apak, Vice Chair.
Great.
Make my thing louder.
Eduardo Diaz, Commissioner.
Heath
Welcome.
Gondog staff.
Great. We have a few guests with us today. Carol, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? I hope you're on mute. You might need to push the mute button there. There you go.
I'm Carol Snyder, president of Salem Parks Foundation, and I just want to listen in.
Great, welcome. And then we also have a few guests from urban development downtown. Shelley, forgive me if I mispronounce your last name. And I'm not even going to try. I'm going to wait for you to tell me how it is.
That was perfect, Shelley Ahinger, just what you said. So it's perfect.
And in the interest of your being considerate of your time, I think maybe we will move you up. So you're on our agenda as I believe is 5A, which is urban development, downtown streetscape, art pedestals, and art wraps for utility boxes. But I think we'll go ahead and move you up to the top of the schedule. So you're welcome to listen to the rest of our meeting, but you don't need to.
Excuse me, Chair Hall. Let's go ahead and do the public comments and approval of the consent agenda in minutes, and then we can head on to that discussion item.
Okay, great. Are there any, is there anyone who wants to address the commission or any public comments today?
Carol sent some messages that I forwarded to the commission. I did not know if she wanted to make comment on it.
No, I'm really just, if you have questions, I'm here, but I really don't think I need to comment on it.
I don't remember whether you mentioned when you were going to be hearing about the grant that you're applying for from the cultural advocacy group.
Well, we'll hear after the legislature meets. It is we got our spot on the list, but the legislature didn't really do much of anything last time, so they didn't get to that item, and we're hoping that they will now. There is a legislator who is putting forth a bill on it, and when I get that number I will forward that to everyone. But yeah, the legislature will meet in February, and hopefully they will pass that bill.
That would be great. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks, Carol.
Great. So any other public comment today?
Nope.
Moving to the approval of the consent agenda for today's November 8th meeting and the minutes for the October 11th meeting. I move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And the meeting minutes. All in favor? Okay, that would be all of us. So, great. Okay, now, sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit, Shelley, but we are now ready for your.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for giving us some time today. And Cherie Wargren, who is my supervisor and who's the assistant director here at Urban Development, is part of this team that will be starting off this afternoon. And then I will talk about the art wraps, and she's going to talk about the pedestal. She has the history of it and the other information. So I'm going to start with Cherie introducing herself and giving you the background information.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. What I wanted to do was circle back. I've been here for 20 years, and I've been the staff liaison to the Downtown Advisory Board pretty much that entire time. And in 2014, a representative from the Oregon Artist Series Foundation came to one of the Downtown Advisory Board meeting with a request that the board recommend funding to the agency board to install pedestals in downtown for art. Their communication said that if we put in the art pedestals, they would put art on the art pedestals. And so a lot of work was done to locate the locations for art pedestals with historic staff here at the city, and also with Public Works to make sure the locations did not impede any issues with traffic flow. And so the first art pedestal that was put in is at State and Liberty, where Riggers is, if you're familiar with downtown, and the cube that was part of the city's collection that was at City Hall was installed there on the corner. The second art pedestal that went in was at the corner of Chemeketa and Liberty on the southwest side, in front of Liberty Plaza and the Cats upside down. You probably know what it is. There's a small one like it, it's red and blue, in the convention center. That one went in. Years went by and two more art pedestals went in, one in front of Olivia's, which is at Court and Commercial. And that one's been without any art for more than 5 years. And the second one was put in conjunction with where we're doing new streetscape in downtown by Firestone at the corner of Chemeketa and Commercial. So I went to an Oregon Artist Series Foundation meeting in August to revisit this communication, because we have obviously the wraps, we have a lot of things that we're trying to do in downtown to increase the vibrancy. We have more and more residential buildings and units coming into downtown. So the streetscape, pedestrian environment, and vehicles is very important. But we want to make sure that and art comes up all the time as something that really contributes to downtown vibrancy. So I went back to OASF in August to see if this communication that they'd given was something that was in front of them, and if they had plans to put art and work with you to select pieces to go on those pedestals. And that was not something that they had in their work plan. So I am here today to just let you know that I'm very interested in working with you to get art on those empty art pedestals. I'm talking to my board about putting in our budget for next year money to pay for art but I would be looking to you to have that as a project with funding behind it to find art that you think would be good to add to the city's collection. I came to SPAC several years back because I wanted to be able to experience what the mural process was like. And I worked with Courtney at that time and the board and I put money behind you doing 2 murals, the Waldo that's on the elevator shaft and Mirror Maze that's behind Rudy's in the alley. So I guess I'm just wanting to, reconnect and I guess when Keith puts together projects that you might be working on, that would be something, again, there's no cost to you. It would just be you going through that process and soliciting for the art and making that decision on what art, because the cost, including installation, would be something that I could carry in my budget. So again, I just wanted to share that with you and check in with you and let you know that that is something that I'm hoping to get support through my board to move through the next year's budget for a project. Do you have any questions for me?
That's very exciting, Sherry. You're welcome at our meetings anytime. Thanks for reconnecting. So let me say that back to you. So if I understand correctly, there's 4 pedestals, 2 of which are occupied and 2 of which are not. Is that right? And then you're also exploring the wrapping program for the utility boxes, but that's a separate
Yes.
initiative.
Yes. Yes.
So, I think that sounds great. Obviously, acquiring more public art for downtown Salem is a great opportunity. So we would like to be involved in that. I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't want to say an enthusiastic yes to that partnership. Does anyone else have a comment or thought on that, Susan?
I just have a couple questions. When you said pedestals, and forgive me, I know that I've seen the cube and I've seen the other, but when I think pedestal, I think of something standing tall. So when you say pedestal, what exactly is the pedestal?
That's a fabulous question, Susan. Thank you for asking. So basically, if you were in front of Olivia's, what you would see is what looks like grates around a tree. It looks like a square tree grate. The pedestal is underneath the grate. It is not up above the sidewalk like I used to live in Lake Oswego, and most of the art is on some kind of pedestal above the ground. These are underneath, and the lights are underneath. They're designed so that the art can be installed and be safely placed on it, but it's just flush with the sidewalk is all you see up above. Looks like a tree grate.
Is this correct? What we're looking
Yes.
at here?
Yeah, that's it. That's by Ritter's, the cube.
Yeah. So the pedestal is this brown grate.
It's underneath the brown grate.
Oh, underneath. Okay.
Yes, but you're not going to see it. The lights for the art and all of that, the infrastructure is all underneath that grate.
So that sculpture is presumably bolted to this pedestal, but we can't see it.
Yes. Again, a lot of work went into designing the pedestal and the infrastructure for the art.
Great.
And I think the other one is this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So whatever artwork is chosen should be something that can work with that mechanism that's holding it down there. And I assume it can be adjusted a little bit somehow if depending on the artwork, the base of the artwork.
So basically there are parameters as far as the art. It was part of the process to get the pedestals approved. where Public Works says, for example, it can't be more than 10 feet high or 3 feet wide. There's parameters to not weight limit, but to the size of the art. And again, if you don't have that, that is something that if I'm able to get funding support, I would make sure you had all that. But yes, obviously there's a big difference between how the cube's positioned on the one by Ritter's versus the cats. So there is flexibility with the infrastructure to accommodate the art.
Okay.
So that Cats one looked like it had its own pedestal, like a second.
That's part of the art. Yeah, that was part of the art.
And so you could, in theory, if it's that piece, that's
But
second.
it's still fastened underneath.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's an anchoring system. Yeah.
And so you're working with your board to understand whether or not you'll get this funding approved. Is that right? And then at that time we would be able to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, so and this is good, you can tell me what you prefer I do. So if I get funding approval, I can, officially do some kind of memo requesting that you select for these locations 2 pieces of art and the money that I have to support the art and installing of the art, and then also provide to you what was approved as far as the design, the size, not the art, but what the size parameters are for the art that can go on the pedestals. And that was basically dictated by the traffic engineer more than anything else, because we wanted them in locations that were visible from as many corners as possible.
And then at that time we could move forward with an RFP or whatever once we had. Yeah, Susan. Sorry.
You had mentioned something about the city collection. So I guess my question's a couple parts. First of all, would we be commissioning new artwork for this, or would we be possibly moving something that's already in the city collection for it? And if we do commission new art, would it then be accepted into the city collection?
Again, I'm assuming that is the role and the authority of you. I was looking at providing funding for you to commission and get 2 new pieces of art. That would be my personal preference versus getting something on loan. The goal would be to increase the city's collection of art. Like the Cats wasn't on loan, but I appreciate the question because obviously the cube wasn't one that we commissioned. That particular property owner at that time was having a big event when they finished their renovation, and they went to the city manager and really wanted a piece of art put on that art pedestal, but there was no time to go through any kind of process. So city's facilities staff nicely picked up the cube and put it there for the celebration that they had, and it stayed there ever since. And it's kind of like everybody knows it, and it's probably an icon for that particular building. But that's how that happened, to be on loan from the city's collection. But my goal would be to have you select 2 new pieces for the art collection.
Great. It's very exciting. Thanks.
Well, she's giving you great news. And so what I just wanted to talk to you about was, again, we're trying to enhance the vibrancy downtown, but also make sure that artwork that is already in the collection is known. And so one of the ways that we thought that it would enhance downtown would be to make them part of the utility box wraps versus them being used by other artists with maybe spray paint and other graffiti. And I had conversations with Keith, and I believe in your package you have what we were proposing, the locations, how many, And so I just wanted to know if there were any questions or any feedback or comments in regards to what we were proposing.
Do we have the locations and the how many part? Keith, do you have that handy?
Yes, 1 second.
Thanks.
And while you're getting that, I did have a question about, will there be a QR code or something on there that so that people can know exactly where the original artwork can be found and how they can go there and see the full artwork?
Yes, and we did have that conversation, and today, even at the Downtown Advisory Board meeting, they felt that too, that was a plus to being able to use that art from the collection.
So there will be some sort of attribution, or who the artist is or where the piece is located, or some sort of information.
Correct, and we were using the QR code as a good way to come back to the SPAC website where they could find that information.
Okay.
That's perfect. Yeah, great.
I see it now. It's down the bottom of there's some nice pieces in here.
And so what Public Works does, they have a photographer and does the publishing. And so we need to track down where these photos are and have them photographed for Shelley. And then I believe we have a contractor selected for this.
Correct.
Great. I think it's a cool partnership. How did if you can have any insight, how did the artworks get selected?
Well, so we shared the collective.
Curated.
Actually, it was more than that because
Yeah.
we don't want art graffiti. We want to be respectful of the art. And so we just had laid out here all of the locations where we could possibly put art. And then we put all the art from the city's collection and took a look at what complemented each other, and the experience you would have with looking at that art as you were walking. So it makes sense to it, but it's interesting. So again, as far as who selected the art, it was a team of several of us here that again methodically laid out and went out and took a look at where would be the best locations to have it. But we don't want it to be so much that it does the opposite. We want it to be enough that it enhances. And there's already wraps on some of the boxes in downtown. There's some historic wraps on it. But again, unless you know to look for them, you're not going to see them because they're muted. They're not colorful at all.
And those will remain. We will not be replacing those. However, and as Cherie was saying, part of the thought process is on the corner of Marion and Commercial as people are going towards West Salem. That's more of the Valley's agricultural community. And so we looked for those pieces that would kind of say, this is where you're leading to. And we have a lot of foot traffic going into the park itself and into the carousel. We have all the kiddos that go in there. And so we tried to find something that would be attractive to blend with what the carousel had. And again, we have beautiful pieces of art in the collection. And I can tell you it's been a privilege and a pleasure to be a part of this.
So I got two questions. By utility boxes, you mean those gray things at the corner, right? And my second one would be, as they're wrapped, some of the like paintings or artwork, it's like more of a horizontal view. Will it be wrapped to the point where like people have to walk around it to see the whole thing? Or is it just gonna be like two-sided to where it like shows the whole thing, or how exactly is it going to be wrapped?
Great question. The request for proposal that we submitted was for all 4 panels to be wrapped so that it would go all the way around. I have had conversations though with Public Work and Traffic, particularly. There are a couple of places where they have boxes that police may need to enter to do some things. So we're working out how we can make the most of the space that's available without impeding a safety situation, whereas we can't, you know, close off those little hinged boxes at the top that most people don't notice. In regards to the air ventilation vent, we're still working out how we can still keep the vent there, but not mess with the art. So, and each box is unique. If you've noticed, they're not the same size if you go from one box to the other. And so we tried to find pieces that were large and would not, in our opinion, impede what the art is trying to project, by picking a small piece of art that a bird, for instance, wouldn't be able to wrap all the way around it, but something else could. So we did put a lot of thought into what piece of art would go where, and in working with the vendor, making sure that it's appropriate in its space, but it's also going to be something that we'll all be proud of.
Okay.
Before, there's a before look. Yes, that's a before look. Actually, that one is a historically wrapped one now.
Yeah. That corner is wrapped already.
Yeah, now it's
It is?
historically wrapped.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's wrapped with some Salem history facts.
Yep.
Oh, this is old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. It would be
Oh, that
interesting.
is.
It'd be interesting to just file away somewhere, you know, at some future date if this is successful and everyone likes it. You know, the idea of maybe engaging the community to do some design work for wraps that could be, you know, contemporary by community members. Not for today's discussion, but it's just sort of, we're always thinking about engaging people in the dialogue about their public art collection and what public art means, and, you know, bringing people into that conversation. So just something to think about for 10 years from now when we do this again. So.
Well, Zach, if I could, one of the other projects that we have wanted to do from the downtown team for quite a while is in the parking structure, the one that Shelley and I are sitting under, Chemeketa Parkade. There is a huge blank block wall on all the floors. And we tried to get the school to work with us to have kids do some type of art on those block walls, some kind of competition, maybe something to get, you know, families into the parkades, something that would be interesting. Probably wouldn't be considered a permanent type thing, something temporary. Maybe we would do it every year. It was very hard to get a callback from the school art department. You know, the timing of the year, they're very busy, or then they're out of school, and getting that connected. But just know that that is something that I think would be contribute a lot and bring people down if there was some type of connection between the schools and that wall, multiple walls. We pick one wall to start with, something fun with the school, with the kids.
Yeah, maybe that's a point of collaboration. I feel that's something that we've been talking about is, you know, if we could create an inventory of available spaces where
Oh, okay.
where murals could go. Because one of the challenges, you know, right now, the way the mural code is set up is they're largely going on private businesses, where the business then has to fund the cost and sign an easement and go through this process. And that somewhere between the cost and the process, it's putting a drag on those on the creation of new murals. And so one thing we've been talking about is could we kind of pre-find locations where murals would be a good fit, and have a kind of inventory of canvases, right? That then we could find money for, or offer them to people for shorter term mural applications. You know, I don't. There's the cost piece is still there, of course, but it might ease some of the obstacles to getting murals up. And if that was a priority for you guys, maybe there's an opportunity to find some resources for it, and we could try to. I don't know. I just think like it'd be there's an opportunity to put more murals up around town.
I would love to talk more about the walls that we have, the block walls in the parking structure, and how that might work as far as, you know, funding and your role in being able to have some locations where we could have murals, because downtown is challenging because you can't put them on a historic building. So we're very limited. And of course, I put the murals on the parking structures because they're not historic and they're ours. So it's, and you're right, it's a little bit different. Same with the parking structure. It's ours. It's not private property. So yes, well, or Shelley would love to continue that conversation.
Yeah, we're getting more murals is a priority, strategic priority for us. That's actually on our agenda today, is working on our strategic plan, and murals is on it. And this point is on it. Like, how could we identify locations where murals could go so that we could ease that process?
There for you.
Yeah. So let's keep talking about that, please. That'd be great. Well, I think that sounds like great. Both of these things sound exciting. So just to, and I don't know if anyone has questions, but just to recap real quickly. So we're going to hear back from you if and when you get board approval for the pedestal project. And then it doesn't sound like you need anything from us on the wrap side, except to help locate those artworks, potentially. And Keith is raising his finger there saying he knows where they are. Probably.
I'm going to go look for them.
Okay. Well, if you need help, let me know. Great. Well, that's super exciting. What a great collaboration. Does anyone have any comments or questions on that?
I just want to say thank you so much for moving us up. I have Community Police Academy in a little bit, and so I was like, how am I going to make this work? I'm down here. So I do thank you so very much for moving us up on the agenda.
Yeah, of course. Susan, did you have a comment?
No, I just wanted to sort of commend you for all the care that you're taking about which pieces you've chosen and where they're going to go in relation to one another. And I assume when you do put them on the boxes, that where they face, you know, whether it's a pedestrian walking by or the car going by, that will be taken into consideration too. And I have every confidence that you will. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. I'm very excited.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good afternoon.
Bye.
Well, that was cool. It's the official term. That's cool. It's like going
Downtown. Wow.
Yeah. All right. So jumping back up to where our agenda discussion items, we have the new Public Works Operations Building from Alan. I don't see Alan on this call.
Yes, Alan couldn't make it, but he did provide an update via email, so I'll just read that out. There should be mounting the plaques to identify all the public art in the next few weeks. They've also identified some additional light fixtures to better illuminate the interior work, which is wallpaper and the two paintings, drawings. What else? Regarding the airport, he's looping in Jim Bonnet, who's an engineer responsible for the construction or recent construction of the airport. But he thinks that it is possible. We will definitely need to have Jim Bonnet meet with the artist as well as the maintenance committee, as well as John Pascal, the airport manager, and the airport advisory board. So there's lots of things in a public public forum like this. But let me show you what the airport does have, because I did go down there and kind of take a look at the new digs. So if you don't mind, I'll just give you a quick tour of it.
And would you just remind me real quick, is this, there's funding for this? Or is this kind of a...
There's no current funding.
Okay.
We didn't identify, this is just an idea. The funding that we do have budgeted has been for just the repair of it. And we haven't even chosen a place to put it. So this could be an opportunity. Do you see my screen?
I said this is back to the Rooster and Drummer is what we were talking about.
Yes, I'm sorry, Rooster and Drummer.
Got it. Sorry, I just had to catch myself back up.
That's okay. So here is the airport as you come in or you land. This is what you will see. Lots of white walls. And this is going out of the sliding doors. This is Bush Park. You see on the bottom left the credit. And this is the little airport. What's that?
It's nice.
You like that?
Yeah, it's neat.
It is. It's small. It's tiny. You know, you can go to Las Vegas for $37 or something. But there's a couple spaces that they have, and so my understanding is this is in public works. I'm not sure what additional jobs for construction that they have, and so I think it'd be good for maybe the engineer to meet with the team, the maintenance team, and figure out because there's outside. I don't have the outside one. Look, oh, I do actually.
And so is there an opportunity to have a similar kind of discussion with Public Works about canvases they may have at the airport or in other locations as we think about building our inventory database?
Absolutely.
Because I could really see, and we talked about this last time, but there's a history I know, like at the Portland airport, for example, of having major, of having Northwest painters come in and do a real important mural installation there. So maybe, obviously, I understand that there's a tourism related initiative going on with those images that we just saw, but maybe there's also room for an artwork to commingle with those scenes of vineyards and beautiful locations around Salem.
Absolutely.
This is not necessarily related to the airport, but are there works in the public art collection that are not on view?
There's some in storage. Those that were hung up, like the city manager or mayor can say, okay, we want these from the collection hung up in my office. And then when they switch it out, it gets put temporarily in storage. So we do have a few pieces in storage. I haven't done a complete inventory of it because I don't know where everything is. So this is going to be a good opportunity for me checking on those paintings that urban development wants for me to get a good idea of where they are. And then that brings up the question of how do we want to organize information that we have of the collection, possibly discussing an inventory system. But here's a drum and rooster in the library when it was removed from the pond. So could be something that could go right there somewhere, but so yeah, let's talk with Jim Bonnet. I can include Zach and Spencer, and we'll talk about the drum and rooster possibilities. And then maybe you guys can even meet with Lee Eminen. I sent him. I guess we're moving forward. I can update you guys later on it, but this is the airport. Any questions on that one?
I guess I just brought that up because I saw these empty walls and I just thought, is there anything in the public collection that we could put up in the meantime? I mean, I don't know if it's something that we would want there, but are there works that are available to
display? Oh,
yeah, that was.
I'll go take a look.
That was just a thought.
Maybe we could, if we can identify what they are, maybe we could show them to the airport team, and see if there's something that they would like to display there.
Pete, do you know, has it been a successful start? I know a few people that have used the airport, but
I heard the first flight was a bumpy ride. They got a little delayed, but my sister has it planned in the next couple of weeks to go. So
okay.
I don't know anyone else that's actually been on it.
Okay.
So
just curious.
Yeah. Please use it so we can have more
Yeah,
air
that'd
service
be
in
great.
Salem.
I've heard reports. I mean, the mayor was on the TV just last week, I guess, and he said that most flights are full, but the ones that are more full were the Burbank flights, and
Oh,
that that they're
yeah.
almost completely full, and that it's going well, from what he says.
That's awesome.
My sister lives in LA and she prefers flying out the Burbank airport. So
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Zach, would you like to move to the next item?
Oh yeah, keep going. SPAC vacancy and expiring terms. So do you want to take that one?
Yeah. I received an email today. We received an email today from Commissioner Sellers Young, and she has to resign because she's moving out of the area, unfortunately. So we are we're two people down. Let me show you the current list that we have. Kind of get your juices flowing. Commissioner Eduardo Diaz Salazar, you came in on a partial term, and your term ends the end of December. The boards and commissions for the city will be meeting in December to reappoint officers and board members. Are you interested in continuing your term?
Yeah, I'll definitely do it.
Excellent. I'll let them know. And so we'll update you on that one. So the two current vacancies will be experience in museum curation and art restoration or art appraisal, and then experience in landscape architecture, real estate development, or community foundations. At the last meeting, Susan, I believe, and Barbara mentioned sending out an email, like a solicitation email to the different organizations in the area. And I got approval from our communications team that is good to go. And by combining Susan's email list with the list, it'll be an easy email to send. So that's the next step.
I just had updated, I think the one that Commissioner Sellers, I can't remember, whatever, that she had some older organizations that no longer existed, and some, and I just kind of updated it with the ones that I knew. So I think you should have a pretty comprehensive list.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's all I got now for the SPAC vacancies and expiring terms.
Cool. Thank you. I might know someone in the art appraisal world. We'll see.
Yeah, if you know them, have them fill out the application before December, so that we can consider them in that month's boards and commissions meeting. For this commission, the mayor appoints it, and then the city council approves.
All right. We have an update on the Northgate neighborhood Hoodview park fence painting.
Here is the park fence painting. That picture did not do it justice. It's huge.
Whoa, it is huge.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Is it the whole thing?
Not yet, but yeah, this is interesting. So I went out, I was like, okay, I gotta go check, take a look at it. And it was impressive. And I spoke to the jogger, who was my classmate at Willamette. We had a good discussion about how everyone uses the park. And it's surrounded by, let's see, Hoodview Park. It's in Northeast Salem. We don't really have any art there. So it's Hoodview Park. It's surrounded by three sides with neighbors, residential. This is the long fence line where the painting comes up to. It continues all the way down. This is not fenced, and then there's a long fence here. Graffiti has been on all of these fences. When I show you the grays, you'll see it painted, but all of this is hodgepodge patched with gray. This too on this side. Let's show it again. right here, all the gray.
Mhm.
And this was recently painted, like
Yeah,
within.
it's been the past year, I guess. They've been working on it 9 months, maybe, ever since it got approved by the SPAC grant, or not SPAC, SPIF. So it's called a Salem Parks Improvement Fund, and it's once every 2 years is a cycle, and they give out monies for two different neighborhood associations. And so this project was brought forth by the neighborhood association, and apparently the neighborhood association talked with the private fence owners and got permissions, and from them, there were no written agreements, there were no easements to the city. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it was used city funds to produce it, but they didn't go through any of the permitting process. When I talked to the it was an email to everyone because I didn't want to like crush their hopes and dreams or future work like this. But what we found was that it is considered a sign because according to the mural code, murals are only on building walls of buildings. Good, Eddie's laughing. And so let me read to you what the let's see. 1 second. And this is from urban development. This would be regulated under the sign code unless it were to meet the exemption for public murals, public art, and street painting as defined by SRC 15.010 and regulated under the provisions, of SRC chapter 15. We are in our sign code is in the sign code is in the middle of revisions, and it's been 6 years since the last one, and they meet on Monday. So to introduce an exemption like this would derail it, and so they're not advising that route. What she said was, I would strongly advise the council again. I'm sorry. If you want to expand what it means to be public art or a public mural, you would need to make those amendments in SRC chapter 15. So the same process we used to define what a building was, to redefine the plane of a wall to be painted, that's the same process we need to do. And to prevent it from going on all fences, we could define public art as on a fence that's been approved by this, as by the SPIF as a parks only project, not on fences anywhere else, could mainly only be the ones facing parks. But I'm not sure what to do in this situation. But since no one complained about it, and whenever there has been speaking with my classmate, she said that whenever there's been a marking or graffiti on it, the artist was there within a couple of days making the corrections, repair. And so it's I encourage you all to go take a look at that scene. It's all nature. There's no wording on it. So I think it's beautiful. I think they might be working on another or plans for another park. But I would like to make sure we kind of walk through this and, make it not an issue for people to do it, and this is also, I kind of talked about it with the PGE walls along River Street for the potential grant with Bloomberg. And those are walls, but they're not walls to a building. So I think it might be good for us to revisit it. What do you guys think?
Would this not be considered, under that amendment that allowed art on 3D surfaces? I mean, could a fence be considered a 3D surface?
Well, fences are not even called out in code. Here, let me share with you what it shows.
Oh.
So public mural means an original to which relative to the plane of the wall upon which it is fixed. Work of visual art comprises paint. Do that.
But that new section is what I'm talking about that we got for the,
Yeah, here's the building.
after the cherry.
Yeah, so that one was for
Build.
the curvilinear one. This one relative to the plane of the wall. But the definition is affixed directly to an exterior wall of a building which has been approved by the Salem Public Art Commission. And the building is defined, we had to change that one as well,
See.
to a roofed and walled structure. So if you think about the PGE one, that's not it's just a wall. So fence, we may have to look into fences, but we don't want every fence. You know, it could be any business that has a fence. That's why the sign code people suggested that we put it into the Salem Public as an art, so that we have a review process, because signs cannot be regulated on its art content or art.
Right. Well, could
So
it be treated like the street mural program where people want to do fences? And I just one point too about the funding, if I'm not mistaken, the city council funded this one as well. It was $600 that was for enhancement of neighborhoods. So they may have combined it with their SPEF and the $600 from council. So I would imagine council would be supportive if we wanted to go in front of them and propose something to allow this kind of painting on fences. And I would like to see it open to not just parks. I mean, that this is me.
Yeah.
Neighborhood association is looking to allow residents to paint their fences, especially in their alleys, where they're getting graffiti on the fences in their backyards, and they're wanting to do murals to, after that. So I would like to see it brought even broader than parks.
So if I just want to say it out loud, what I think's happening. So it's a non-building, it's a wall of some dimensional thickness, whether that's wood or concrete, whatever, aka a fence, that technically speaking, it's violating sign code unless it is accepted through our mural process.
correct. So the definition here for street painting, in the code, it says public murals, public art, and street painting as defined by SRC 15 and regulated under the provisions of FSC Chapter 15 and any other rules under. So those three items, public murals, public art, and street painting, are exempted from the sign code. Okay. So if we add a definition of park fence mural, but fence painting, we could add that definition, I believe, to be.
But to Susan's point, but is SPAC reviewing? Is the street painting still subject to the city collection easement review? Did we do any of that? Does SPAC have any oversight of any of that?
The street painting, we don't. The rules of the street painting are defined. Like you need to get 60% yeses from your neighbors, and so what the grant process did, I believe there was a public process, but then again, we don't. I don't know exactly how it was.
So I guess there's two, depending on. I guess I'm a little bit with you, Susan. Like, why would we limit it to parks? Like, if people want to put murals on their fences, we could either follow the current mural code and say SPAC has to approve it. And so that would allow for a technical break to be put on, people running wild with their fence painting. Or if we're not as concerned about such a thing, we could just do what you're suggesting and just add fence painting. I don't know. Is there a reason to not? I guess I'm trying to separate the ability to do it on the surface from the need to regulate it for fear. Because when you said we wouldn't want all the fences, I just want to push into that a little bit. Like, what's your concern about allowing it to go on any fence?
Yeah, let me give you let's see. Now, this is from, if we were pressed to add an exemption for this, beyond distinguishing the public ownership aspect that we already have, all we could do is allow unlimited signage when painted on fences. I would strongly advise the council against an amendment like this because any business could then paint all over their fence and expand their signage allowance. As a reminder, we are legally prohibited from making regulations based on the content, art versus speech, of the sign. We can only regulate time, place, and manner.
So if we allowed it as a type of surface where a mural could go under the mural rules, then SPAC would have oversight over whether or not the thing was allowed. Is that
We would
right?
have to, yeah, if you put it as part of the mural code, like as mural, you would have to go through the public process, the 30-day hearing, 30-day open process, and the public hearing.
I mean, I guess in a way, like this seems like a left hand, right hand kind of thing, but if the city paid for a mural to be installed on a bunch of private fences and didn't go through, I mean, what is this city?
Yeah.
What does the city want to have happen now? I guess, right? I mean, I think SPACs, like from our perspective, is like, let's get more public art. Does the city want? Obviously, they funded it, and Parks wants it. So there's two constituencies within the city that want it.
The big the feature of this that stood out to me, that was communicated by the parks manager director, was that it was a neighborhood project. It wasn't one person who wanted a picture on their fence. It was a whole neighborhood talking to a whole bunch of neighbors saying, we want to do this. And so with that, the parks manager, she said, that's kind of the model that we like. Our parks grants are, an individual can bring up a project for funding, but we really look to see if the projects have the neighborhood support. And so
that's more like what the street painting system is set up to do, right?
Yes, the street painting has its own criteria, and that's why the street painting is outside of the mural, and it has its own procedures. And so if we could have, I'm thinking perhaps we could have, instead of street painting, it'll be a parks fence painting. We could just approve all of the parks project or all of the murals that are chosen as part of the public process to get the SPIF grant could be just considered, part of a public art and not a mural.
So
But
you're
if
going
they're
to connect it to the SPIF.
Connected to the SPIF because it's a public process, which takes SPAC out of that process. And because it's neighborhood supported and, grassroots, then it shouldn't be more than just one individual wanting something, is kind of the thought.
Well, the way the street painting, worked again was, someone had the idea, we want to do a street painting on this particular street. They came to the neighborhood association and we went to the city and said, hey, how do we do this? So a program was developed and it went, through basically public works, right? So it was it didn't have anything to, I don't even think SPAC knew about it. At this point though, it does seem like SPAC might want to be involved in these, community art projects, at least as advisors. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that it's kind of its own thing under, out there. And I don't know how we do that and also have maybe this fence painting program as well. But I forget what my other point was, but it was, I'll remember it in a minute. But
so if we're,
yeah.
I mean, I think it seems to me relatively boy, I'm losing my words today. Uncontroversial to allow what you just suggested. I guess that SPIF projects can go forward through the process they've got of neighborhood collaboration or whatever. But I don't quite see how we're making the leap from that to if we advocated for a code change that allowed for fence painting in the same way that street paintings are approved. How would businesses just suddenly be able to do it? Wouldn't they still need to follow that street painting process of getting 60% of the neighboring property people to, I mean, so I guess, does it need to be limited to parks? Or can we just say, if you follow a similar mirror process for fences, i.e. getting everyone in the neighborhood to agree, like you would have to do for a street painting, then you can do a fence painting. And then I guess if a business said, I want to do a fence painting, they'd have to go get 60% of the neighborhood to agree with them. And I don't, maybe that seems a little unlikely, I don't know. Or I'm just saying, I don't know that it immediately opens the door to the kind of risk. So I could go either way. If the request is, are we supporting an incremental step code change to allow for parks to keep doing what they're doing? I don't see why we wouldn't support that, but I also don't know that we wouldn't also advocate for letting neighbors paint fences in their alleys if all the neighbors around want to do it and there's no park involved. You know what I mean?
I remember what I was going to say. Sackett, are you finished? Sorry.
Yeah.
It was that when they were initially going to change the code to permit the street painting, we were presented with language that was about community arts. And I have the paragraph. It was community arts, and then this would fall under that. The street painting would fall under that. And that whole, for some reason, that was deleted. So the only language that remained was very specific to street painting. And I guess, I got really excited when I saw the community art part of it. And it seems to me that with all of these community actions that are happening with the street painting and the fence and that maybe there does need to be a consideration for an umbrella of community art that would have programs like the street painting and fence painting under it. But that would require some new language and some code change. And, maybe in the meantime, in order for nothing to happen with this particular project and more projects that want to go forward before we can get this language change and code change, that maybe we go with the parks language, because that's kind of an easy. I mean, I know we at Grant we're going to apply for that. We've gotten grants for that before for our little park, and it would be great if we wanted to paint a little mural. It's nice to know, and it would be a good thing to put it out there and say, hey, this is part of what you can do in your park. If you want to paint something. I also wonder though.
And sorry, can I interrupt real quick, Susan?
Sure. Sorry. I don't want to.
The parks person said that this is not appropriate for every park. The reason why this was approved is because the neighbors were very supportive of this, and there was a lot of them. Imagine a park where you get one or two people that go through and get a thing, but it's not maintained, and that's kind of where. So looking at our mural program, there's a 7-year easement, and the city has the authority to go in and paint it or remove it or whatever. There's no agreement with the city on these fences currently. There is an agreement. I'm sorry. The agreement was that if it gets vandalized and does not get repaired, the Parks Department has the ability to go in and just paint the fence back, but it's not a written agreement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that leaves the city at risk if something happens. So I mean, this is going to have to go through. I have to talk through the legal department and all that. But I wanted to see what your ideas were.
I mean, so if another group of people in another neighborhood see this and say, that's cool, I want to do that too in my neighborhood. What do?
They'd call their neighborhood association because the neighborhood association would be the one that applies for the SPIF grants.
And so there's the question, do you have to apply for a SPIF grant? Because what if the neighborhood says, yeah, no, we don't need the money. We're all willing to pitch in $50 or $100 or whatever. Because what was the total grant amount? $600. So the neighborhood's like, we got the $600. We just want to do it. We don't need you to approve a grant. We just need you to give us permission to paint our fence. And look, everyone raised their hands and said yes. That's my point. Is like, is there a process here? It feels more like we need an approval process that's separate from a funding process. Like, I think applying for a grant for it is great. Like, and we want to apply for the grant too, because we'd love parks to come in and provide financial support. Fantastic. Or city council, whoever provided financial support. That's great. But we don't want to get hung up on that because what'd you say? There was 2 a year, maybe? And what if there are 4 neighborhoods that are strongly in favor of doing something similar? It seems a little unfair to require.
Oh no, it's not 2 a year. It's the grant cycles every 2 years.
Oh, so that's even perhaps slower. I mean, I don't know. I'm just sort of like, if our ongoing advocacy is following reasonable rules, let's try to promote more public art. So there's SPAC's position, and over here, parks in the city are like, let's clean up blighted fences when neighborhoods support them. How does the next neighborhood who has a blighted fence problem get access to that consideration?
Got it.
I guess.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I really didn't consider that. What I was considering was how do we get the current painting,
And again, I'm not against
approved.
I'm not against what you're suggesting as a short-term thing. It just seems it's opening the door to like, and it fits within our just often discussed broader agenda of like inventory, canvases, problem solving, more public art. How do we include it in parks? Blah blah blah. So if we could take the street painting program model and find a way to make that applicable to neighborhood fences, and maybe that's to your point, Susan, we bring back some sort of community language that somehow distinguishes it from businesses. Like, this is not applicable to businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. There's your carve out, and then you still need 60% of the neighborhood participants to say they want to do it, or whatever. Is that a high enough bar? It is for the street mural, so maybe it is for a fence that's in a public space, or I don't know.
And the street one is a little easier because it is a city asset, whereas the ones on the park fences are private property.
Right.
I mean, if it was a city property, I mean, probably would be easier.
That fence was private property. It wasn't city property.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So it's like 6 different property owners coming together and agreeing that the backside of their fences can get painted with public money.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is like somebody in their alley painting their fence.
It is similar. So why?
It's facing a public place. But did they paint the other side of the fence too that's in their backyard? I mean, we don't know that. They could have done that. Is that allowed? Is there a motion that we can make to suggest that fence paint that staff consider a program so that neighborhoods can paint their fences?
Paint public facing fences.
Not even public, because public, yeah. I guess an alley is public. Yes.
Maybe that's the slight expansion we're trying to get to beyond parks. Is I've got a fence that faces the public, and 60%, and I want to paint it. 60% of my neighbors have to approve it. They're probably not if it's just me and my one fence. I mean, I suppose if 60% of the neighbors approve it, maybe you do have some weird one-off scenarios, but probably it's only going to apply to scenarios where, like this, where 6 neighbors in an alley all have contiguous fences that essentially present one long canvas, and there's a problem back there in the alley. with stuff getting. I mean, this happens in our neighborhood all the time. There's like it's a problem back there, and there's a bunch of and everyone's put up a fence to prevent their backyards from. And so I could see this group being like heavily in favor of something like that. Like let's try to take advantage of the same reasons that murals are put on buildings, so that it's a deterrent to unwanted activity. I don't know.
And
Yeah,
it could be the same, criteria or similar to the street painting. I mean, there's no street painting, there's no words allowed, it doesn't have to impede traffic. I mean, there's a whole list of things that criteria, and that the neighbors have to approve it, and there's a whole thing. I mean, it could still be subject to that kind of a process for sure. It should be.
Well, Susan, you asked about a motion. You guys could just instruct me to request staff to, look into how to look into a policy or a program. But if you talk about like code change, that's to city council, and it'll have to go through legal first. So,
well, the street painting had to go through a code.
I had to go. I had to go through a code change.
Probably would. I mean, you'd have to find out, I guess, whether what it would entail and what the language would have to be and all that. So, I would be in favor of instructing you to do that.
Give me more work.
Sorry.
No.
Work, please.
So if we were to try to frame that, we would make a motion to ask staff to explore how the street mural program could be expanded to include community fences. And by community fence, I guess I mean multiple fences joined together facing a public space. I don't know. That's the like, how could this be expanded to include fences? What would the limitations need to be on that to make the city comfortable that it wasn't running afoul of sign code? We have some indication of that because they just did it, and they just said it has to be in a scenario where all the neighbors agree. So, or strong neighborhood support or whatever, right? So I don't know. Would that kind of motion be enough to empower you?
Yes. If you motion for me to go look into sign code, or not sign code, the street painting program, and how it could apply to fences on public facing property.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I could do that.
Okay, I make that motion. I'm not going to say it again.
I'll second it. I heard it.
All in favor? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
Oh, yay. Okay, I got homework this holiday season.
Fences.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
City of Salem.
fences, what is it? Good fences make good neighbors, they say.
All right, that was a long one, surprisingly. All right, subcommittee reports.
Yes, repair of drummer and rooster. This is an email from Lee Immonen. Hi Keith, here's a quick update. The base plates are cut and ready for welding. I've done some initial investigations into how to best cut into the drummer's leg to clear out and replace the old support. It is difficult to tell exactly what is the best course of action, so I'm moving cautiously. I would be happy to provide a quote for refinishing the black disc sculpture. I should be traveling through Salem in the next couple of weeks and make a closer inspection so I can provide an accurate estimate for repairs. Hope to have some more news for you soon, Lee. That might dovetail nicely with discussions with airport. Maybe he could even take a field trip out there to see any possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. The Good Sense sign. Happy to report. This is what it looked like. See it?
Yep.
This is what it looks like now.
Woohoo!
Yay.
So there's a bottle.
Yeah. Did that just happen?
Yeah.
I was like walking by it a couple days ago and it was still in front of it, and I thought, oh, it's still in front of it, and look, there it is. Poof.
Yeah,
Cool.
look at the bottle. Cool. All right.
Better.
So that got done. Thank you everyone. That's $200. Facilities did it. And I contacted the resident that brought this to our attention. So that's good. Black discs, like I said, Lee agreed to come and take a look at it so we can I'll work with Zach and Spencer to arrange something.
Okay. So
Okay.
there's the social media plan report from.
Yes. Did everyone get to see the comments and engagement with that?
I didn't.
Oh.
What happened? What's the summary?
Oh, it's this in light of the city's budget constraints, and then having a new building and then having a piece of art for the new building. Some people were like, we don't have money for this. And so it's really an education on what is percent for art program. And so if you look at the comments, some people mentioned the state's 1% for art and all that. And so Krista, she sent me a message. She said, I also know people might be curious about the social media plan and how that has been going. So would you be able to provide an update if anyone asks? Last week's post garnered quite a response on Facebook, some positive, some negative, but it certainly facilitated conversation, which is part of our goal. I've also tailored my initial plan from posting on Instagram just once a month or doing stories, as I think it is reaching a different audience than Facebook and like to continue that exposure on a weekly basis. For the next few posts, I'd like to explore the concept of what public art in Salem means, both through our public art collection and through other public institutions and organizations. Hopefully, this will continue to introduce public art to a larger audience and get them thinking about how it functions and how we can engage with the work as a community. This will propel me into volunteer-related projects, of which we can focus on Eco Earth for a whole week. This is slightly different than the initial proposal I created in that I had the volunteer month a bit later in the year and was planning on focusing on SPAC and some medium-focused projects earlier on. But I'm thinking now that people are talking about the collection and the function of public art, it's best to keep up the momentum and explore citywide projects that celebrate and engage our local community. So she sent an update to Trevor Smith, our communications guy, and he did a post this afternoon with a link to the existing collection and also the treasure hunt. And when I clicked on it, there seemed to be an error on my phone, so it might be only a computer access thing for the treasure hunt. But that's the update.
Great.
You're
Sounds
still
good.
your
Yeah.
screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you
It was a post on Instagram.
go. Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's saying there's more engagement on Facebook, so they're moving. You'll put more on Facebook than the Instagram.
Okay.
I'm glad she's being sort of organic about it and responding to whatever is happening. So, but she does have that framework to work in too. Bravo, Krista.
Yeah, I think it's great. I have no problem with her adjusting or whatever. And that topic is both Susan and I put similar comments in the strategic plan notes about what does public art mean. So that's something that we had talked about in our last meeting. So I think that sounds appropriate and good. SPAC annual report to City Council.
Yes. So City Council is scheduled to see the report on December 11th.
Okay.
That's Zach when you want to go and do your presentation. So there's a couple procedures we have to do before that. And so I'm proposing to have the draft annual report to you folks next Wednesday, the 15th. And you can return it to me by Friday the 17th. And then I'll get it to legal. Legal will review it, and then it'll go to docket for the manager and everyone else to review before it goes to City Council.
So that's December 11th which is at what time?
I believe it's at 6 o'clock, but I will make sure I get you that information.
Okay, I'm just making sure it's on my calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a Monday. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Last meeting of the city council meeting of the year.
Okay. And just remind me, so you're sending a draft to me and then or to us. And do we have the ability to add anything to it?
Yep, you'll be able to. I'll make it available now that I have the Google Docs working.
Cool.
Yeah, so that'll be next Wednesday, and then I'll get. We really don't have to get to legal by the 27th, but I'm going on vacation, so
Yeah. Okay.
we've got to get by the 17th. Okay, perfect.
Get on it.
Next
Okay.
one.
And we can all attend that meeting, right? And
Oh, absolutely.
Brad's gonna
Yes.
be in front of the council. He's going to be actually talking to them, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That's an in-person meeting.
In-person meeting. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have a microphone. I've learned that microphones are my friends.
There you go.
Okay, good.
The next one is format for December 13th SPAC meeting. We talked about the option of going to the new building, seeing all the art, and having an in-person meeting with the holiday kind of get together. The challenge is the meeting. Sorry, not the meeting. The mural application that came in. According to the rules, we'll post it on the 13th, next Monday, for the SPAC meeting on Wednesday. Now, at the public hearing, this is an opportunity for the artists in the community and people to report on, to give their testimony. And I think it'll be difficult to have people come to the building in person just for that. And so for those reasons, I recommend having the meeting normally on YouTube so that we can, not YouTube, Zoom, so that we can invite the people in the public hearing to participate.
I think that makes sense. And I'm looking at that day. It looks like it's set at 2:30 to 4:30. Are we going to adjust that time to our new time of 3:30?
Yes. So I just wanted to make sure, is the new time 3:30 to 5:30 from now on?
Yeah, that works.
Is that okay with the rest of you?
I just might have to leave a little bit early, but
We'll try and get.
Okay.
yeah, I can do most of the time.
Perfect. Then I will change that on all of our recurring meetings. I was unsure, that's why I only did it for this one.
Got it.
Perfect. Okay, that's good.
So did we change that? Are we going to do a meeting at the new facility in January or?
That's what I would recommend.
Yeah. I also mentioned it to Paula Booth about the new, that's been installed, and Chris Darcy also, I think, would love to come by and see it since they were so involved in the process of choosing those artworks. So can we do it as kind of a party or something? Invite them to come as well?
In January?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think December will work for that meeting. And if you do something outside of the meeting, it's the holidays and people are kind of going all over the place. So
maybe
I think January would be good.
January meeting we meet there, and
Mm-hmm.
we bring food. I mean, should we make it a cookies, or I guess if it's 3:30, tea time?
Nice. Sounds nice to me.
Yeah. We can get details next month.
Okay.
Perfect.
What's the date of that meeting? January.
Oh, let's see my calendar.
The 10th.
Okay.
January 10th. Okay, being respectful of everybody's time, new business. We already went through A, which was the urban development stuff with the downtown development folks, so it's great. We have a strategic plan. I had the opportunity to take a look at it. Susan, obviously you did as well, put in some comments. I think this is great, Keith, as a starting point. I like it. I can see it.
Good.
I think it tracks with our notes. I wasn't quite sure, my comment that I added to outreach and education could, I suppose, be part of regional arts advocacy or advocate, and potentially part of public art plan too. I wasn't sure where to put it, so I just put it in the sort of first part there.
Yep. No, that works.
But I think that's kind of what you were just reading that Krista was thinking about focusing on too, is sort of like, and I'll just reiterate, I think public art, the city of Salem has a public art collection. That's one way of looking at public art. But there's because we're the state capital in particular, there are all these other public art works and other public art partners all around. And so I think there's a question about SPAC or the city taking on a sort of leadership role of elevating the dialogue about public art to include these partners. So
I was looking at the Oregon Arts Commission's website,
yeah,
because of the state projects, and I mean, there's a contact there, Sarah Balinson. I don't know if any of you know her, but it'd be interesting to see if they would be willing for us to include that on our virtual tour, because it is on that website is kind of, I mean, you go straight to the map and it's very specific per collection, but it'd be interesting if you could kind of see the city all together populated with all these different dots of art.
Spencer, could you throw the link in the chat and then maybe I can have access to it?
Yep.
Thank you. Funnily
enough, my business was just corresponding with Sarah Balinson today.
Oh, perfect.
I do have her contact information and can reach out to her and ask that question.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, and I wasn't quite sure how to do the notes, but I think I
had
a couple.
Susan, you want to share? Yeah, go for it.
That was just that, my marketing head, when I talk about the public art collection, I'm like, this belongs to you, the city of Salem. This is your art collection. And same thing, I guess, with the state collection. We pay for it. It's our taxes. So, that's just one way to think about the collections. And then the other thing was, when we present to the neighborhood associations, I think I had suggested we have some kind of a PowerPoint presentation to, quick, usually it's about 10 minutes to present something that would allow them, and talk to them. And I would definitely be willing to be involved in that.
Excellent. Because Zach's going to have a PowerPoint. Maybe we could just use that as a base.
Great.
Did you all have a chance to look at the other goals on the bottom as well? In the tabs? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Good job, Keith.
Yeah.
I keep my job.
Yeah.
I feel like we might need a working session to kind of start filling it out, or a series of working sessions to start filling it out, which might be beyond the scope of today's meeting, but maybe we could either set up some other time or pick one per meeting for the next couple of meetings and try to work through each,
goal.
Goals, and kind of just so we don't overwhelm ourselves. This could easily be a day-long process, right, to go through this thing. So maybe we just
absolutely
right.
A little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's a note that I think I mentioned, just to add that we should be advocating for murals as well as making the process easier. That we should. I think you had used advocating in something else.
Yeah.
I think for the street murals, but we could, also kind of spread the word about the mural program.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at that, everybody, please take a look and see if you have any comments, and then we can start adding a goal per meeting, maybe in January. I think sounds like December is going to be filled with city council and the public hearing for the murals. So maybe we're not going to get there in December, but maybe we can in January. Um, Speaking of that, the mural application public hearing timeline.
Yes.
You referred
Yeah, let me get the calendar up for you all again. So our next meeting is December 13th. And so I have 30 days. It has to be open for 30 days. So I'm still working on it. I got the last pieces of information I need to go ahead and print out the description as well as the rendered painting, and then I'm going to post it onto the building's wall by next Monday, and then put it out on the internet. And then this is when the applicant will is encouraged to contact the neighborhood association, neighbors, etc., to get testimony and support. And it'll be the first thing on the agenda after we approve of the public comment and agenda packet. So hopefully this will be done.
And we did something like this before with like the Dave's Hot Chicken. Is that right? Is this a similar?
Yes, it's the same process where the artists and the business owner will be able to present their application and the reasoning behind it. It'll also give the opportunity for neighbors who want to speak for it or against it to come in and do that. But within those 30 days, from November 13th to December 13th, oh, not December 13th, but November 13th till the week before, the 6th, I'll be collecting the comments and then compiling them for the hearing. So even if people don't provide testimony in person, all of their emails would be, considered as well.
Okay, great.
Is Eddie, are you part of the application at this point for that mural?
Yes, I am.
You would be recusing yourself, if I understand correctly. So would we, do we have to be really mindful of having a quorum without Eddie?
Absolutely. And so I'm going to make sure that we have Krista on here, and that'll be 4 out of 5.
Okay.
And then if I understand correctly, Eddie is the artistic coordinator, so he will be kind of explaining what the piece is about, all the motivations and stuff like that, and the whole story behind it, his involvement with the property owner, and then yeah. Right. And then everybody else will vote.
So the draft mural application, is that referring to the new one we're working on streamlining a little bit?
Correct. And I have been kind of busy with other stuff as well, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. And this is the city.
Will this replace the one that's up there now when you go to public mural and you click on the application?
Yes. And it'll be an online version.
Meaning you can fill it out online and submit it?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now slowly is, and there is opportunities for me to do logic. So for instance, do you own the building upon which your mural will be painted? If they go yes, oh shoot, then I'll have another set of questions, because what I got from everyone feedback was that we just want them just ask questions, not so much all the criteria. So I'm coming up with basic questions that I gleaned from reviewing the application, like, do you own the building? Well, do you have the authority to enter into the agreement? Because these are the basic items before we can even move forward with it. Because if there's somebody that's like, oh, I'm just an artist and I want to do a mural, well, you don't have any standing to do a permit. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. But this is it's called Alchemer. So hopefully by next meeting, I'll get a little bit more done and possibly a demo of the form.
And so in the future, I'm just continuing
Yeah.
our fantasy here. When downtown development and the airport and public works all contribute their canvases to our inventory, we could have a version of this for artists to come in and apply to put a mural
Pick
on
a canvas.
on a piece of inventory. They could pick the piece of the canvas where they wanted to do it, submit something through a website similar to this, and we could, and then whatever, be paired with a funder or however complicated we want to make it. But we could, when you said artists can't do this today, totally understand. But also it makes me want to like continue to push on the idea that we could create a portal for artists who did want to do some murals, and how do we connect them with all this empty space that's sitting around in the city of Salem, right?
Absolutely. What we added here, I want to, and in here now, apply for a public mural. It'll just take you to the current application section.
Yep.
Apply for public. Oh, this is new.
I saw that. I was just looking at that.
Yeah. So it kind of puts everything here. But this is where you would have the application for it.
Let's scroll down a little bit. There's already a link there for it. It says public mural application. It's up a little bit. Sorry. Right there. Public mural. So
that's this one.
That's the old one.
Yeah.
But you would.
This would be my new one that you can just submit.
Right. The other thing with following on your point, Zach, about the kind of the canvases and marrying them with the artists, I think if you can, Keith, with your logic there, if it's just an artist, is there any way to say, oh, you can't do this right now, but we'd love to know more about you as a mural artist, and fill this in, and that will go somewhere where we can go ahead and look, and then get them into a registry. We have a registry of mural artists also.
That would be cool. I know other municipalities have that.
Yeah, Oregon's art commission had a roster.
So
that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I've been meeting some mural artists. I was in Astoria and met a mural artist there and got her information so that if we ever do that, and that we would have her information to on file. And I liked her work. So, and I'm sure Eddie knows tons of mural artists that would want to be on that register.
It would be cool if we could figure out, sounds like there's some enthusiasm from different groups to maybe provide a little funding, and if it doesn't have to be a 7-year commitment, and if there's more readily available canvases, the whole concept of like it could go up and be up for a smaller period of time or on a smaller surface, or I don't know, just sort of like people could we could reduce barriers.
I'm in an airport.
Yeah, that one I can see a lot of people would want to do that, right? Like murals in the Salem airport, like tons of people all the time. So, yeah, super cool. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay, well, I don't know that other than our motion to you, Keith, sorry, I don't know that we have action items. I guess we're going to look at the presentation for city council in the next few weeks.
Next Wednesday.
Yep. And meet with Lee when he cycles back around. I'm happy to go out there with him to the airport.
I'll send an email tomorrow to that effect.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Anyone else have any thoughts or questions for today?
Good meeting.
Good work, everybody.
Yeah, feels like we're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Susan pushed us to the meeting. We're doing things.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We'll adjourn this meeting and we'll talk soon.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The meeting was adjourned at 5:09.